SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Hello, my dear friends. Today we are going to look at the topic prescribed in your syllabus called dialogue writing. Have you any time observed or noticed? Many times we narrate the incidents, the things we be the part of after it's happening. For instance, while commuting from your residence to your college, in bus you happen to see some quarrel between, some discussion between two or more persons. You take interest, you listen to them, you notice. Since certain things in the discussion touched you, after coming either to the college or returning home, you narrate the incident and tell people, he was telling this. She was telling this. Dialogue writing is nothing but this only. Many times while reading fiction, drama of course, and at many other places you come across such kind of dialogues. Let's begin with dialogue writing. First of all, when we are learning it formally, the concepts must be clear. So, my first point would be, what is dialogue? I've tried to give its definitions. It is a literary work consisting of a conversation between two or more persons. It might be a conversation between two or more persons in any literary work. It could be the things that are said by the characters in a story, movie, play, etc. As I narrated earlier, you understand the thing? Next one is a discussion or series of discussions that two groups or countries have in order to end a disagreement. A conversation between two or more people. It could either be a discussion or you could say series of discussions among two groups, two countries, two companies, any two parties for resolving disagreement or coming to a compromise. It could also be called a conversation between two or more people. May it be a casual talk, but it's a dialogue. It is an interactive writing which develops language skill for you people. It is an interactive writing. You have to imagine this interactive writing, jot it down for developing your language skills. Now, where this word dialogue could have come from? There are various references, arguments. I've tried to jot down some. It is said that dialogue, the word, started being used during early 13th century. In Old French, we find dialogue. In Latin, we find it dialogus. In Greek language, we find it as dialogos, means conversation. Related to dialogosti, converse, means dia, it means across, legin means speak. sense broadened with time around 14th century. Still, there is a mistaken belief. When we say dialogue, most of the people take it to be a conversation between only two persons. Rather, conversation between two persons is known as hybrid dialogue. I've tried to use the term dialogue in different kinds of sentences to give you the taste of different meanings of the word. Look at them. He is an expert at writing dialogue. Next one is, there is very little dialogue in the film. Third one, have a look. The best part of the book is the clever dialogue. Next one, students were asked to read dialogues from the play. Next to it, the two sides involved in the labor dispute are trying to establish a dialogue. And last one, see to it, the two parties have been in constant dialogue with each other. Now, you see the colors of the word used in different references in these examples. It might be literally a dialogue, it might be a talk, it might be some an exercise to find some conclusion, it might be to be in touch with, vagera, vagera. Definitions which we come across of the word dialogue. A written composition in which two or more characters are represented while conversing. दो या दो से ज़्यादा लोग जब बात करते हैं, वो चीज़ को अगर लिख लिया जाए, रिकॉर्ड कर लिया जाए ऑन पेपर, it becomes dialogue. Number 2, a conversation between two or more persons. दो लोगों के बीच या दो से ज़्यादा लोगों के बीच हुई कोई भी बातचीत, may it be in written form, may it be in oral or recorded form, but conversation between two or more persons could be called dialogue. Let's look at the third definition, an exchange of ideas and opinions among two or more people. Many times we see people talking to one another, two or more persons talking to one another on some ideas, trying to bring out some new ideas, some new conclusions. Such kind of discourse is also called dialogue. Definition 4, a discussion between representatives of parties in a conflict that is aimed at resolution. Many times, talk is held to come at some compromise between two conversing, fighting between two rival parties or conflicting parties. These exercises also called a dialogue. Next one, the conversational element of literary or dramatic composition. Conversational element of literary or dramatic composition. In your syllabus, you might be studying some short story, some novel, or some part, or maybe the whole drama. Have you read them any time and observed? The talk part, the exchange of ideas are done through the speech at times and always in dramas. This conversational part, this conversational element is also a dialogue. Why I have given you this many definitions? Because they load you with the ideas when you sit to draft the dialogues that are prescribed in your syllabus. Another question, very crucial one, which strikes our mind many times. Why this dialogue writing in my syllabus? I have some arguments to give you. It is a scaffolding skill that gives finishing touch to what you know. Since we have entered into college, we are in higher education now. We might have gathered so many experiences. We might have learned so many things. We are not a blank slate. Whatever knowledge we have acquired so far, this dialogue writing activity gives you the final touch. It's a scaffolding skill. Scaffolding. Have you any time observed the building being constructed or renovated from outside? The laborers, how they make temporary stand to sit on with the ropes hanging from the terrace of the building, and while hanging, sitting, they paint out and renovate the building. Dialogue writing does the same thing with the knowledge that you have. It is a useful experience to gain command over language skills. We all are behind English, and without English, we can't think of settling into any good career or having got any good job. So English has become a requirement today, and we all are behind it. We all try to acquire the language, and in our journey to acquire English, which is not our mother tongue, which is our second language, this dialogue writing activity helps a lot. It gives you a command over the language. Many times you might have come across your friends, students, many times elders also, who are very good at writing, but who are not very good at speaking, and they are not good at drafting or writing. Writing skills are different, and speaking skills, dialoguing, is a different thing. It helps us express our thoughts in an easy and natural way. When you sit to write dialogue, you'll realize that it's like day-to-day talk. It's so easy. It's so natural. It comes so naturally. The exercise is not a difficult task. Speaking ability often does not translate into writing ability. Dialogue writing activity bridges the gap. As I told you earlier, both the abilities are different, and if one has one ability, if the other has the other ability, if you have both the abilities but you master in one, both the abilities are bridged with this exercise of dialogue writing. It teaches how to get rid of your fears. It also makes you fearless while speaking or writing English. Before we actually start on drafting a dialogue, writing a dialogue, let me just make you aware of the primary requirements, the basic things that you require in you, that you need to furnish in you. A little dramatic power. Suppose one of the students, while attending a lecture, during a lecture, plays some mischief, and your professor punishes, scolds him. After the lecture, in canteen, how you narrate the incident? Had the person been your friend, you make the mockery, na? This calls for the dramatic power, narrating the incidents. Art to conceal the art. You have to put the dialogues by using your brain. One by one, I'll make my character speak this, I'll make my character speak that. And that calls for the art. But it should not look as an art, it should look natural. Careful preparation, but should not look artificial, it should look natural. We have to carefully prepare the draft. Logical aptitude. When you talk about the morning, you talk about the person who woke up at what time. And you don't talk about the things that he ate in dinner. That means you have to go in sequence, in logical order. Effective communication. You have to make your communication effective. The person should pay heed to. The person who listens to or read your draft must feel interested. And above these all factors, the crucial one is imaginative power. You have to imagine the characters, you have to imagine the incident, you have to imagine the dialogues, you have to imagine the place, the status, the education, the behavior, and everything of the conversation, the person who are involved in the conversation before you make your final draft. There are certain things to be taken care of before we start actually. I have put it as do's and don'ts. Let's take up do's first. What you have to do? Move the story forward logically. You have to move the story forward logically, step by step. Dialogues should impart information. Each dialogue should not go in vain. They must impart. Dialogues must impart some information, little information to step further, to proceed further, to develop further. Dialogues must throw light on the character types. Dialogues must throw light on the character types. Suppose you have selected your character who is a student. Now, when your character is a student, then he should not. It won't look natural if your character speaks like an expert. A student has to behave in the manner a student behaves. That's why you must throw light on the character type. Which type of the character is? Make the conversation brisk and rapid. You should make your conversation brisk. Little sentences and rapid. The incidents or the development should come fast. Development of thought. Maintain simplicity. You could say a lighter tone of dialogues. Your dialogues should not be loaded heavily. Let me explain in vernacular medium for vernacular medium students also. Dialogues લખતા પહેલાં થોડી બાબતો શું કરવાનું છે એ જોવાનું છે. ડાયલોગ્સમાં ક્રમશઃ જવાનું છે, લોજિકલી જવાનું છે. આપણે સવારની વાત કરીએ છીએ તો પછી બપોરની જ કરીશું, પછી ગઈકાલના રાતની જમવાની વાત નહીં કરીએ. એવું શક્ય જ નથી એમ નથી કહેતા, પણ એમાં લોજિક એક લિંક એસ્ટાબ્લિશ થવું જોઈએ. ડાયલોગ્સમાં દરેક ડાયલોગમાં કંઈ ને કંઈ માહિતી, ઇન્ફોર્મેશન પાસ થવી જોઈએ. ડાયલોગ્સ એકદમ હળવાશથી લખાયેલા હોવા જોઈએ અને કેરેક્ટર્સ જે ટાઈપના છે, વિદ્યાર્થી વિદ્યાર્થીના જેવું બોલે, વડીલ વડીલના જેવું બોલે, એ રીતે કરવાનું છે. ડાયલોગ્સ ડાયલોગમાં જે માહિતી આપીએ છીએ એ એટલી બધી ભારી ભરકમ ગંભીર માહિતી આપતા નથી. એને થોડું આપણે હળવા ટોનમાં, વાતચીતના ટોનમાં લઈએ છીએ. મેક abundant use of exclamatory words and punctuation marks as required. ડાયલોગ બનાવી દઈએ છીએ, સાથે સાથે એક્સક્લેમેશન વર્ડ્સ, ઉદ્ગાર ચિહ્નો, ઉદ્ગાર વાચક શબ્દો અને અલ્પવિરામ, પૂર્ણવિરામ એવા બધા ઓલ ટાઈપ્સ ઓફ પંક્ચ્યુએશન માર્ક્સ must be used as and when required. Make use of dialogue tags at the end, or you could say at the beginning of the dialogue. Whenever required, whenever you put your sentence, the sentence spoken by the interlocutors, the speaker, before beginning of the sentence, you must put dialogue tag or at the end of the dialogue. Now let's have a look at the things you would keep away while writing a dialogue. ડાયલોગ લખતા વખતે કઈ બાબતોથી દૂર રહેવું એ જોઈએ. It should not look premeditated. It should look that you have meditated in advance previously and now you are just passing on, throwing on the things. પહેલાંથી નક્કી કરેલું છે એ રીતે જ ક્રમ ચાલે છે એવું જણાવવું ના જોઈએ. Otherwise your dialogues would look artificial instead of seeming natural. It should not be rambling or pointless. Useless dialogues must be put aside. અનિવાર્ય હોય એ જ બાબતો ડાયલોગમાં હોવી જોઈએ અને ખાલી કોઈ માહિતી વગરનું ડાયલોગ બને ત્યાં સુધી પોઈન્ટલેસ ડાયલોગ મૂકવું નહીં. It should not look dull. ડાયલોગ તમારું ડલ પણ લાગવું જોઈએ નહીં. એમ જ કોઈને વાંચીને ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ ના પડે એવું ડલ ડાયલોગ પણ ન હોવું જોઈએ. It should not be bookish or stilted. એકદમ બુકમાંથી લીધું છે, આર્ટિફિશિયલ છે, ફોર્માલિટી થાય છે એવું ડાયલોગ મૂકવું નહીં. It should not have illogical or stray statements. સવારે ચા પીધી હતી, કાલે પેટમાં દુખતું હતું, 2 દિવસ પહેલાં કાકી આવ્યા હતા. આ રીતે ડાયલોગ મૂકીશું તો એના વચ્ચે લિંક નથી થતી. I took a tea in the morning. Yesterday I had stomach ache. 2 days back I met with my aunt. These 3 dialogues, they are illogical. They do not have link among them. They are called stray statements. And while drafting your dialogue, you should keep away from such stray statements. Do not show your characters aggressive. Mind you, I told you earlier also that your dialogue should look natural, lively. It should go easily, as if you are talking very normally to the person. Aggressive dialogues could never be permitted until your subject strongly demands for it. The given topic strongly demands for it. જ્યાં સુધી મારા પાસે માહિતી છે, આપણા સિલેબસમાં જે 7 ટોપિક આપવામાં આવ્યા છે ડાયલોગ રાઇટિંગના, એમાં કોઈ પણ ટોપિક એગ્રેસિવ ડાયલોગ ડિમાન્ડ કરે એવું નથી. એટલે આપણે ડાયલોગ જ્યારે લખવા બેસીશું ત્યારે એ વાત યાદ રાખીશું કે આપણે ડાયલોગમાં અગ્રેસિવ રિમાર્કવાળું ડાયલોગ ડ્રાફ્ટ નહીં કરીએ. Do not lose focus right for a reason. Focus. આપણે વાતને ક્યાં સ્ટોપ કરવાનું છે, where I want to lead the discussion and where I want to arrive finally. I must keep that thing in my mind from beginning till end. હું ડાયલોગ લખવા બેસું છું ત્યારે કોઈ કારણથી બેસું છું કે બેઠી છું, એ ફોકસ એ દિમાગમાં રાખવાનું છે. એક પણ ડાયલોગમાં આપણું ફોકસ કે આપણે એન્ડમાં જે વાત કહેવાની છે, જે મેસેજ આપવાનું છે, એ નથી હટીને કોઈ ડાયલોગ મૂકીશું નહીં. આપણે એનાથી બચીશું. Do not let the character speak for too long. ડાયલોગ રાઇટિંગમાં શોર્ટ સેન્ટેન્સીસ જ હોય છે, ટૂંકા વાક્યો જ રાખવાના છે. બહુ લાંબા વાક્ય ડાયલોગ રાઇટિંગમાં થશે નહીં, અધરવાઇઝ ઇટ વુડ બીકમ અ સ્પીચ. આપણે ડાયલોગ લખવાના છે, સ્પીચ લખવાના નથી. વિલ કીપ દેટ થિંગ ઇન માઇન્ડ. Pre-preparation. Now you are ready with all the things, basic things, very clear in your mind. Your mind is set now. You know which side, which type of dialogue I have to draft, which side I have to head for. Now you prepare. What you have to prepare? Make a plan or outline of a dialogue. Make a plan. એક પ્લાન બનાવી લો. Take a rough paper and make a plan. I'll put 2 characters, I'll put 3 characters, I'll make first character speak this, I'll make second speaker speak this, I'll make the third person speak this. Have this attitude and finally I'll come up to this. પહેલું કેરેક્ટર આ પ્રકારનું અભિપ્રાય રાખશે, બીજું ઇન્ટરલોક્યુટર આ પ્રકારનું અભિપ્રાય રાખી અને બોલશે, અને ત્રીજું આ પ્રકારનું સ્વભાવવાળું છે એટલે આ પ્રકારે બોલશે. એવા દરેકના એટીટ્યૂડ નક્કી કરી એ પ્રમાણે ડાયલોગ્સ મૂકી અને ફાઇનલી તમારે જે કન્ક્લુઝન પર, જે પોઈન્ટ પર હાઇલાઇટ કરવાનું છે, આવવાનું છે, એ ધ્યાનમાં રાખી અને એક આઉટલાઇન રફ પેપર પર બનાવી લો. Jot down the points or arguments to be put in the mouth of your characters. Jot down the points or arguments. A would speak this, B would speak that, C would speak something other. Like this. You decide what your characters are going to speak. Rough points, jot down them. Arrange these points into a logical order. Now we have come up with the points. Your points are ready. Now what you have to do? You have to put them in the order. First comes this, second comes this. You decide the sequence. You arrange them so that the whole dialogue looks one. Imagine and finalize the direction in which the dialogue will proceed. Generate structure. Now you have to imagine and finalize the direction. When you put them sequentially, read them, go through them one by one, and you imagine that the characters are speaking in front of you, they are interacting, they are in a dialogue, you are listening to the dialogue, and generate structure and see if the structure is proper or not. If it's not proper, then make some changes and come to the final version of your dialogue. First get determine the moods and attitudes of the interlocutors. Determine the moods while the characters speak. Definitely they might be in some or the other mood, maybe in the mood of revolution, maybe in the mood of contempt, maybe in the mood of happiness, joy. So determine those moods in their words. Their words, when they speak, must reflect the moods and attitudes of each and every character. Characters must talk in easy, familiar, realistic, and natural manner. Here you have to remember, they are not at a task. They are not put on the boundaries, on the borders of the country to fight with the enemy and finish the task. They are into a simple talk. Remember that. And that's why whatever they speak must be easy, not heavily loaded, not loaded with difficult words. It should be a colloquial language, day-to-day language, easy, familiar words, familiar matters also, realistic and natural. As if a discourse, as if a dialogue is happening, is going on near you, as if it's a day-to-day affair, as if there is nothing new in that. It's so common. You have to draft it like that. Your character must seem in character. As I told you earlier, let me remind once again. Your character, if it's a teacher, then the teacher must speak like teacher. If it's a soldier must speak like a soldier. If it's a student, must talk like a student. Make the arrangement of dialogues in less complex way. This also has been told earlier. Arrangement of dialogues should not be complex. It should go sequentially. 2 comes after 1, 3 comes after 2, like that. Simpler. We are not going to use more fictional art in this. Insert the interruptions in dialogues to make them look natural. ઘણીવાર વાત કરતાં આપણે કંઈ બોલવા જઈએ અને સાંભળનાર આપણને વચ્ચેથી ઇન્ટરપ્ટ કરે છે, અટકાળે છે. અરે તું ક્યાંથી ત્યાં જ વચ્ચે બોલશે, એ બધું છોડને, ચલ ચા પીએ. આ પ્રકારે ડે ટુ ડે કન્વર્સેશનમાં આપણે કંઈ બોલવા જઈએ છીએ. While speaking something, the listener or the person who is interacting with us interrupts our sentences, and such kind of interruptions, if you insert in your dialogues, they look more natural. Make profuse use of questions in dialogues, for they give liveliness to the characters. Dialogues ની અંદર questions. હાય અમિત, ક્યારે આવ્યો, ક્યાં હતો, શું લાવ્યો? નાના small questions, if you insert in your dialogues, they'll make your dialogues lively. They'll make your draft lively, and the reader's interest would be maintained. Language should be colloquial but not ungrammatical. બોલચાલમાં જે આપણે અંગ્રેજી બોલીએ છીએ, જેવું બી આપણું વિદ્યાર્થી જેટલું લેવલ છે, એકદમ હાઈફાઈ ડેકોરેટિવ ઇંગ્લિશ નથી બોલતા. નો પ્રોબ્લેમ. ડેલી ડે ટુ ડે ટોકમાં જે ઇંગ્લિશ વપરાય છે, ઇઝી છે, સિમ્પલ છે, ડાયરેક્ટ છે, સ્મોલ સેન્ટેન્સીસ છે, અને લેસ ડિફિકલ્ટ વોકેબ્યુલરીનો કે જાર્ગનાઇઝડ નથી. આ રીતે સિમ્પલ ઇંગ્લિશમાં ડાયલોગ્સ ડ્રાફ્ટ કરશો, that would become more impressive. That would earn more marks to you. But remember, when you draft such sentences, simple sentences, you don't have to forget that your sentences must be grammatically correct. Colloquial English વાપરો છો, no problem. લેંગ્વેજ વાતચીતની છે, no problem. પણ ગ્રામેટિકલ ભૂલો એમાં હોવું જોઈએ નહીં. Beginning should always be more interesting. Your dialogue should begin, may begin. It's preferred, it's preferable if you begin your dialogue with something interesting that gives a boost. Verbless sentences are great for dialogues. For example, oh, array, how there, why so, oi. Such kind of short, verbless, stray pieces of sentences are good for dialogues. They also add liveliness, simplicity, and naturalness to your dialogues. Be brief, concise, and pointed. Whatever you want to put in the dialogues, use less words as much as possible. Be concise and pointed, nothing extra. Dialogues લખીએ છીએ તો એકદમ ટૂંકમાં આપણી વાત જે કહેવાની છે એ કહીશું. શક્ય એટલા ઓછા શબ્દો વાપરીશું અને પોઇન્ટેડ એટલે કે જે વાત કરવાની છે એ વાત એવા દેખાવી જોઈએ જ. એ રીતે ડાયલોગ આપણે મૂકીશું. Consider the educational background, age, the place the character belongs to, and the status, such kind of things before putting dialogues in the mouth of the characters. Charactersના dialogues એના નામ પર મૂકતા પહેલાં, લખતા પહેલાં એનું એજ્યુકેશનલ બેકગ્રાઉન્ડ એ કેટલું ભણેલો છે એ પ્રમાણે એનું થિંકિંગ હશે, એની ઉંમર, એ કઈ જગ્યાનો છે, શહેરી છે, શહેરનો રહેવાસી છે કે ગામડાનો છે, અભણ છે, ભણેલો છે, કયા બેકગ્રાઉન્ડમાંથી આવે છે, આ બધી જ એનું સ્ટેટસ, આ બધી જ વસ્તુઓ એના ડાયલોગ્સ પર એની અસર દેખાવી જોઈએ. The characters' dialogues which you put in their names must have reflections of their education, age, the place, the region they come from, status, etc. Make use of some regional words to give dialogue the right flavor. It could be experimental. Dialogue writingsમાં I have personally felt when you know you are writing for which race, which people, then you could experiment with some local words, regional words. For instance, I could say ડાયલોગ્સમાં આપણને ખબર છે આપણે કોના માટે લખીએ છીએ, તો કેરેક્ટર્સના બેકગ્રાઉન્ડ વગેરેમાં મેચ થતું હોય તો રિજનલ વર્ડ્સ જેવા કે આપણા ત્યાં હોય તો કુમકુમ, ધોતી, વિધિ, એવા કોઈ એક બે અથવા તો બહુ ઓછા શબ્દોનો ઉપયોગ ડાયલોગને લાઇવલી બનાવવામાં ખૂબ કામ લાગશે. આવું એક્સપેરિમેન્ટ કરી શકાય. I have felt it. This is purely a personal opinion, but I have been successful into that. Do it. Try it. Use correct punctuation marks. Now, your dialogues should not go without any punctuation marks from beginning till end. It won't be possible. Dialogues માં શરૂઆતથી છેક સુધી ક્યાંય પણ સેપરેશન માટે, અલગ પાડવા માટે કોઈ વિરામ ચિહ્નનો, પંક્ચ્યુએશન માર્ક્સનો ઉપયોગ જ ના થયો હોય તો કેવું લાગશે? ટોટલી બ્લેન્ડ, કદાચ મેકિંગ નો સેન્સ. Punctuation marks are therefore very much needed. The words of each speaker must be given in a new paragraph. દરેક સ્પીકરના, કેરેક્ટરના, ઇન્ટરલોક્યુટર્સના શબ્દો એટલે કે ડાયલોગ નવી લાઈનમાં મૂકવાના છે. Now have a look at some necessary punctuation marks. કેટલાક જરૂરી punctuation marks વિશે થોડી ઉપર છેલ્લી માહિતી લઈએ. Let's take a bird eye view of different punctuation marks which might be useful while drafting your dialogue. Number 1, the full stop, or you could say period. When you want to mark the greatest pause or separation of one matter, one point from the other point, you use full stop. જ્યારે આપણી વાત પૂરી થાય છે, વિરામ છે, મોટો વિરામ છે, ત્યારે પૂર્ણવિરામ, the full stop. બે વાત જુદી પાડવા માટે પણ ફૂલ પોઈન્ટનો ઉપયોગ થઈ શકે છે. The comma, the shortest pause. It is also used to separate series of words to mark off the words used in nominative addresses. Comma, Gujarati कहिए अल्पविराम. It's a kind of short pause. It comes in a sentence. When your matter is not over, the point is not over, you don't want to separate, you just want to take a pause. જ્યારે વાત આપણી પૂરી નથી થઈ, પોઈન્ટ એ જ ચાલુ છે, પણ એમાં ક્યાંક સેજ અટકવું છે. શોર્ટેસ્ટ પોઝ. ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ, એક એક્ઝામ્પલ જોઈએ. કમ હિયર માનસી. ટુ સેપરેટ વર્ડ્સ, phrases, clauses, etc. and to avoid repetition of words. બીજો ઉપયોગ પણ થાય. એક એક્ઝામ્પલ જોયું. કમ હિયર માનસી. કમ હિયર, then I put the comma and then I put the name Mansi. To separate words, many times in one sentence you are dealing with, you are writing so many words or phrases or clauses, and to separate them you need to put commas. For instance, if I say he is a friend, comma, philosopher and guide to me. Friend, philosopher and guide. I have used one comma to separate them, and at the third one and has come for the help. Similarly, second example, I gave him a book and her a pen. Here I have used two commas to avoid repetition of words. See, what's the meaning of the sentence? I gave him a book. I gave him a book and her a pen. I have saved the words I gave. To save these two words, I have made the use of a comma. I gave him a book, comma, and her, comma. To save, I gave. Why I put comma after her? To save, I gave. And then a pen. Full point. You understood? મેં ભાઈને બુક આપી અને બેનને પેન આપી. મારે એવું કહેવું છે, પણ સેન્ટેન્સમાં મારે આઈ ગેવ બીજી વાર વાપરવું નથી. એટલે એ બચાવવા માટે, બે શબ્દ બચાવવા મેં એક કોમાનું ઉપયોગ કર્યું છે. ફોર ઇન્સ્ટન્સ, હવે ફરી વાંચો સેન્ટેન્સ. I gave him a book and her a pen. The semicolon. It marks a longer pause than a comma. It is used to separate clauses where commas are used in the clauses. A longer pause. In comma, we used to pause short. It was the shortest pause available with us in the language. But more than a comma, if I want to pause for more than a comma, when? While separating clauses. If a sentence has two clauses, I need to separate them. If a sentence has more than that, then I need something else. For instance, our professor is simple, comma, modest and unassuming person, semicolon, but we all respect him. See, this sentence has two clauses. First one is, our professor is simple, modest and unassuming person. And the other clause is, but we all respect him. Since I have used shortest pause in the first clause, do you see a comma after simple? વાક્યમાં જ્યારે બે ક્લોઝ ઉપવાક્ય કહીએ છીએ ગુજરાતી, એક વાક્ય જ્યારે સીધું સાદું નથી, એના અંદર ઉપવાક્ય છે, એક કે એકથી વધારે ઉપવાક્ય. ઉપવાક્ય સમજાય છે આપણે પ્રિન્સિપલ ક્લોઝ, સબઓર્ડિનેટ ક્લોઝિસ. This sentence has one principal clause and one subordinate clause. કેટલીક વાર sentences might have one principal clause and maybe two or more subordinate clauses. And if any of the clauses, વાક્યમાં બે ક્લોઝ કે બેથી વધારે ક્લોઝિસ છે, એમાં કોઈ બી એક ક્લોઝમાં if you have used commas to separate the words, then you need longer pause at the end of the clause before you begin the second clause. તો બંને ક્લોઝને જુદા પાડવા માટે તમારે લોંગર પોઝ લેવું પડશે, કારણ કે શોર્ટેસ્ટ પોઝ તમે લઈ લીધું છે. એટલે બે ક્લોઝને જુદા પાડવા you will make use of the semicolon. To separate sentences closely connected in thought, I have second usage to tell you of the semicolon. To separate sentences closely connected in thought. બે sentences એક જ વિચાર બતાવતા હોય અને if I have to speak them at a time in one, then how would I do it? For instance, reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, writing an exact man. I have one thought and three things to be told together. Then how I separate my sentences? With the semicolon. Hope the thing is clear from this example.
SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.